Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look here at Bitcoin once more, as per usual, see what's going on with this bad boy, and help us understand best practice and big picture. So if you are new to the channel, I am not a financial advisor. I really just love teaching people how to trade. Really hope that you can learn to become a better trader by watching these videos. And if you want to become more specifically a little bit more better, I have a solution for you. CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. Check that out in your own time. I do have discounts for military and third world countries. So message me if you have any questions, but I have a Signal group, Trading Academy, and Trading Community. We took a lot of profit on Chainlink yesterday, and it's still doing very well here today, as well as the fact that there's a couple of short opportunities too, and I'll talk more about that here in a moment. So take a look at Bitcoin first of all. We can start with the monthly, same song and dance here. Nothing's going to change in this one because we're underneath the 20 and above the 50. So if you're just say new and joining us here, just quick heads up, it usually takes about 6 months for the price to recover back up above the 20-day SMA. And in this regard here, we can see we're about 3 months in. So hypothetically, we got another 3 to 6 months left of this continuation sideways and or down. More likely than not, we're going to see the continuation down for another couple more months and then an increase from there. That's the speculation, of course, okay? Also on the weekly, we can see it's very similar behavior. The 200-day set moving average is trending around 22,000. The 50 is also trending around 21,500 on the monthly. So you put those two together, those are pretty strong moving averages. There's a great chance we're going to see the price action either retest that level, or even if it doesn't, this is strong support. So we shouldn't expect a price point lower than 22. That's the general consensus there. That's kind of what we want to work with. Now moving on to the daily, because I think it's more important to kind of look at the macro here, the 4 hour on the daily essentially. Not that the larger time frame isn't important, it's just that we've already acknowledged that. There's not much else we can do. We're in a bearish downtrend, and we are still continuing lower here effectively. At this point, of course, we haven't tested that level yet, but we're soon to. But we've got this trend line that's essentially telling us that it wants to continue lower. So until we break that, we really have no reason or leg to stand on to expect the price action to obviously move forward or up. We're expecting more sideways action, perhaps even a rally in the near future. We may even see 35 to 37,500 retested, so key level resistances. But for the most part, we have to acknowledge the fact that we're underneath the 50-day SMA, and that is essentially telling us that the price action is moving down. Another thing to acknowledge as well is the volume weighted moving average. Also, this is basically a 50-day SMA based on volume, is essentially trending down as well, very similar and concurrent to the 50. All right, they work oftentimes together, of course, because they're both 50-day simple moving averages. It's just that if you include the volume, you can see that it's even lower. So the bottom line here is that we've got this point of contention here, right around 31,800. It's going to come to a head soon, so if just say the price were to retest, then we're going to face 2 or 3 extra moving averages on top of that. So once more, just reaffirming the fact that that's a strong resistance level, and that hopefully in the next couple of days we get to retest that and break above, and then it might be smoother sailing from there. Okay. Until we get there, though, we really have no reason to consider this being, again, a momentous uptrend. I wouldn't say you want to just short your socks off because of it, because again, there's no guarantees it's going to go lower. But generally speaking, there are some altcoins that are underperforming. What was it? CVC I picked up on yesterday. It lost its trend line. It's essentially making lower lows, and if Bitcoin drops below 30,000, that one's going straight down. So again, there's a handful of different things that you can kind of think about. But generally speaking here, careful taking long, careful taking short positions, right? You gotta maximize your benefit. And what I recommend doing is whichever direction you choose, have tight not stop losses, have tight profit targets, and have multiple take profit targets too. We always usually use 5 in our trading community, whereas when I send a signal out, our first profit target is 60%. So if it turns around on us, we still even always come out ahead, right? Heaven forbid it comes down and you get stopped out, you took that extra 10%, so to speak, right? So again, it's always a benefit there in that sense, but there's different ways you can structure things. Just make sure you're a little tight on the profit targets based on the margin here for error. We can see 29,800 upwards of 31,800 is essentially the range that we're stuck in. We've been stuck in that range for the last, that's about 7 to 10 days roughly. Okay, so it's all good to be range bound. There's nothing wrong with buying low and selling high, and selling high and buying low. But generally speaking, at this point, we got to anticipate the price action to continue to stay in this range until it tells us otherwise. All right, so again, a close below 30,000 would be disadvantageous. We do not want that here today. Preferably the candle closes close to where it's at or higher, and we get a doji candle signaling a potential reversal. All right, so that would be ultimately the best case scenario. Obviously, actually no, the actual best case scenario is the price to come back up to about 30,500 or higher. That'd be a preferred situation or scenario, but we'll take a doji candle at this point. Even a close at 30,200 is satisfactory, because once again, we're staying within this range, and that's the comfortable place that we're in right now. If we break below, it's a great chance we'll see more downtrend. If we break above, more uptrend. It's an interesting dynamic, but we have to break through this. Good news is we're still honoring this ascending trend line, even though, yes, this candlestick is currently lower, the candlestick hasn't closed yet, and if we can close above 30,400 or 500, then we'd still be continuing that trend. Heaven forbid, even still, just say it comes down a little bit lower and we close at like 30,000 even, we could probably have a situation where, it's still honoring the trend if you count the candle wicks. I prefer candle bodies, but candle wicks also work too in trend lines. So just keep that in mind. Depending on the time frame, obviously, you can kind of look at that. But looking at here at the RSI at 50, again, you can see right at 50 is very synonymous with the price behavior at 31,800. So again, key level resistance, just an area in which the price is having difficulty getting past. On the 4 hour, we can see here, of course, all the moving averages are kind of coming to a head. This really just tells us that we've had a lot of consolidation at this price point. The price is just narrowing itself out, and it's either going to shoot up or shoot down. In most cases, we see a pretty strong burst, in either direction based on that sentiment. So today being Thursday, tomorrow being Friday, if we don't see some nice behavior today, there might be a chance we're going to see some profits taken tomorrow. But we also need to understand that there's not a tremendous amount of meat left on the bone. How much more profits can they take, right? So again, we're in this interesting little situation, still ascending. We're making higher highs and higher lows on the daily. Keep that in mind. We're making We're making higher lows on the daily, and the higher highs are yet to remain to be seen, of course, right? They're actually technically getting lower. But for lack of better terms, we're seeing this shelf at 31,800, and of course, the lows are getting higher and higher. Inevitably, when you have the higher lows, they'll eventually break to the upside. That's kind of just how it works. So I like the fact that we have higher lows in Bitcoin. That's why I'm confident that we should still be relevant in the relative near future here. But generally speaking, that's kind of what we're looking at there. And if we look at the 4 hour, we're just stuck at 50 on the RSI. That really just tells us there's a lot of indecision. That's why we're seeing a potential doji candle here today. And that does signal, again, a reversal, in most cases to the upside, because we came from the top. All right. So oftentimes when you see a doji candle, it'll flip and change directions essentially, because in that 24-hour period, the price was unwilling to go higher or lower than where it started. And that's a great sign telling us that, hey, it's probably not willing to go much lower if it started higher. Therefore, we should see the price reverse and come back up. So that's essentially what we're looking at here in that general sense. Taking a look, of course, at TD sequential on the 1 hour, not a lot. We did get a reset at an 8 here. So there was a little momentous trend to push the upside, to retest really close to 30,800 and then come back down. And of course, kind of getting a reset. So that's not telling us much at all. The cloud is going to be a very similar scenario, even though we're underneath the cloud. When we have this consolidation periods, there's really not a lot you can extract here, because again, the lagging span's kind of stuck in the price action. Conversion line and baseline are constantly increasing and decreasing. So really, the only tell that we're going to have is to maybe have a clean break above the cloud that maintains itself for a few hours. And here's an example of what you shouldn't do. In other words, when you see a clean break above the cloud, don't just take a position because it broke above. Take a position after you've received confirmation and you see at least 2 or 3 hours of price action above that level. Okay, this is what you refer to as a false positive. All right, we don't like those. It's a plus or a minus sign on the pregnancy test. It's like, okay, I can deal with this, or maybe I can't. That's where this is at. Okay, so it's an interesting thing, but I would recommend waiting for true confirmation. To me, 2, 3, 4 hours above that specific cloud, that area there is beneficial, but it also needs to be backed up by the lagging span being free and clear of the price action. I would say that's equally more important than it would be for the actual moving averages here, essentially, the lagging span, the conversion line above the baseline. I wouldn't worry too much about that if we have a breakthrough. What you want to do is have confirmation of that breakthrough with multiple hours, as well as lagging span being free and clear. That to me is probably the most important. So again, different things that you can use to kind of diagnose where we're going right now, but generally speaking, we're going straight sideways, which isn't terrible. It's just not great. I mean, you can see this very strong little level here that is unwilling to be broken right about 30,100. So it keeps coming down to retest that level. You could also argue that we have this type of descending wedge pattern, which could also break to the downside. So please be mindful of that. The micro isn't looking fantastic in the last 24 to 48 hours. But again, we're still honoring higher lows on the daily. And that to me is an important factor. Okay. Again, daily higher lows are important. So as long as this next low doesn't close below 29,700, we should be in good shape still. Okay. Even today, just say we close at 29,800 or 30,000. I don't think it's going to be dire straits. I think it will be basically a case in point in which we should still see continuation of the upside. Once again, higher lows to me is probably the most impactful thing here. Obviously on the macro, we're seeing a downtrend, and we know that we're going to hit a point of contention here very, very soon with all the moving averages coming to a head. Everything's happening right here at 31,800. So once that battle for Middle Earth takes place, and it essentially chooses a direction, then at that point we can have some confidence in knowing that we're on the right side or the wrong side of tracks, and we can effectively pick a side. Because right now Bitcoin is kind of confused. It doesn't really know if it's male or female. It doesn't really understand specifically which direction it wants to go. Like, am I a bull? Am I a bear? What the hell is going on? That's where we're at right now. So a doji candle today would be fantastic, or even, of course, a hammer up, so to speak, where you see the candle body close closer to the top, maybe even a dragonfly. And that would be phenomenal. We'd love to see that. But if we don't see that, I don't think the sky is necessarily falling. I do think that as long as we continue to maintain higher lows, we'll be satisfactory. All right. So those are things that I like to look for, and we'll see here soon, of course. But there's a lot of it's going to be an interesting next week or so, because within the next week we should be somewhere in the range of 31,800, or if at least perhaps even retested that level, and I think there's going to be a breakthrough. Could even be a massive short squeeze that pushes the price action higher. We'll definitely see. But until then, just again, control what you can control, which is your emotions. So make sure you remain, cognizant of how you feel and how you're reacting in the day. If you have a bad attitude or a bad, you're just not feeling good, don't trade. I can tell you, it makes it way worse. So, just take some knowledge from me here. I've been trading for over 16 years, and eventually you figure it out. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it's a constant emotional battle. And I recognize it's not for everyone, so I get that. But if you do want to become better, I have a trading academy, of course, that I talk about that, elaborate. That's available to all my members, and obviously signals so you can kind of see how to structure your trades in this environment. All right, so thanks again for joining me here. We'll go ahead and see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day. Appreciate all of your support, and thank you all so very much for being who you are. Appreciate you. All right, we'll see y'all. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.